Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, and if this is your first time, thanks for tuning in. Before I get into the video today, there are a few things I want to address. I received some feedback on things like my mic, having a microphone, my music volume. I've also received feedback on how helpful some of you found the videos and the value you find in the videos. And I want to say all the feedback I appreciate, all the feedback I'm trying to implement. I'm trying to experiment with a few things, so I will be trying a few things, seeing if they work or not. And your feedback is the way I know if those things work or not. So again, I appreciate it. Keep sending me your feedback as you watch the videos, and wherever I can implement them to make the content better, to make the information I put out there better, I will implement it. In addressing that, I think I also want to acknowledge that we've reached a milestone of 200 subscribers. Now, this might be peanuts in the YouTube context, but for me, I think it signifies that there are 200 people who have said, hey, we like the information you're putting out there, we find it valuable, so we want to keep seeing what you have to say. And I don't take that for granted. It's positive feedback for me. And even on top of that, recently I've received a lot of really nice messages that have just given me that extra boost. I already committed myself to this channel, but that was just a validation of the decision I made to commit myself to this channel. So I appreciate it, and I look forward to growing with this community, improving this channel, growing the channel, and seeing the things I can do with this. I've spoken a bit about my motivation to create this channel, and maybe I'll do another video on that later. But yeah, reaching that milestone has been a validation for that motivation. So thank you very much. This video has been a long time coming. A lot of things have been happening that have kind of delayed me putting this out there, but today we're going to be going over week 9 to 12 of BMOQ, so the final weeks of BMOQ. But before I get into that, I want to do a recap of the last video, weeks 5 to 8. I want to correct a few mistakes that I made from those videos. So my first mistake in the video was from week 5. I failed to mention that week 5 was when we did the weapons test. I think I said it was between week 6 and 7. We actually did our weapons drill test in week 5. When I say the weapons drill test, I mean the weapon proficiency with the C7. So you're learning things like unloading your weapon, reloading your weapon, dealing with the different stoppage drills, making your weapon safe, inspecting your weapon, stripping your weapon, things like that. In week 5 is when we do that. Another mistake I made was in week 7. In week 7 is the first time we go to Farnham, and we spend 2 days there. In this week is when we do the CBRN assessment, the CBRN procedure. That's where you first get the experience of Farnham, and that's when you properly test if you can do the drills in simulated scenarios. This week is also when we do the heavy rock march. The heavy rock march is about 33 pounds of weight in your rock, and I think we walked for about 5 kilometers. So that's gonna be the last rock march before you then go into the field, and you're built up to that over the weeks prior to week 7. And finally, in week 8 is when we have the Farnham experience. Like, you're going into the field for real this time. In week 7, you go to Farnham, but it's not necessarily for the field. You're more going there for the rappel tower and the gas hut. But when you go in week 8, then you're going into the field. We actually call this Normandy. So Normandy is when you go through the missions and you're following directions. You're being shown how to give the directions, how to lead a mission, how to go through the battle procedures. When you go to Farnham in week 8, you can expect to spend about 3 days there. So you're probably going from Wednesday and then Wednesday morning, and then you return Friday evening. I was looking through my journal, and I have an entry from my journal that I think really encapsulates week 8, or what you experienced in week 8. And it reads as follows: I can't write about last week. There's literally so much to write. I can distill it down to Farnham week was crazy, sleep debt, and maybe some minor PTSD. So when I was reading this, I thought it was funny because I don't remember writing this, but I think it really encapsulates what you experience in week 8 when you go to Farnham. I think that covers the recap from last week. Now let's get into week 9. Contrary to what I said in the last video in this series, week 9 is sort of the break week. So you've gone to Farnham week 7, week 8. When you come back in week 9, you're taking a break from the field in week 9, but you're not taking a complete break. In week 9, you're going to be in classrooms learning about the things you're going to be doing in the field for the weeks to come. And I like to describe week 9 as the week where BMQ diverges from BMOQ. And what I mean by this is now you begin to focus more on the leadership component in BMOQ. By BMQ week 9, you would have graduated. But for the BMOQ candidates in week 9, you're doing classes on battle procedures, so how you give your orders and things like that. You're learning about how to give your orders. You're learning about military leadership structure, how to lead a mission, and ultimately you're preparing for weeks 10 and 11, which are Pre-Vimy and Vimy. And I think that leads us to the next week, week 10. Week 10 is the week we know as Pre-Vimy. It has a test run for your leadership assessment, and as the name implies, it precedes the main event, which is Vimy. I have a journal entry here from week 10 that I think sort of encapsulates how this week feels, and it reads as follows: we're officially in week 10. Get through this week is the name/aim of the week. I think it's about to be the longest few weeks of my life, and I don't think I can say I'm prepared. I think this encapsulates what week 10 is, because even though you've been taking these lessons, you've been having so much training from week 0 up until this point, you're going in, or at least I went in with such a sense of uncertainty and a lack of confidence in how I could perform in this week. You know, it's a test run for the assessment, and everyone is aware of this. So you're not being properly graded or graded as an actual assessment, but I still try to approach it with the sense of this is the real assessment, and my performance here would reflect on my performance in the actual assessment. I was trying to approach it with the mentality of train like you fight, but I was still anxious and nervous about this week. One thing to remember: if there's a time to get it wrong, this is the time to get it wrong, because you can fix it. It's to tweak those tiny details that will help you do the best on the final assessment. Anyway, in this week, we left on Tuesday morning and got back on Thursday evening. It was a packed schedule, so we left Farnham, and you barely get time to do any other thing aside from the mission. Then the missions are going back to back to back. For me, I think we were 12 folks in our section, so think about that. 12 folks means you're going on 12 missions, and each mission lasts about 4 hours. So 12 times 4, 48 hours spread in 72 hours. Not a lot of time for rest. You're doing a lot of scenarios, stand tos, etc. So yeah, a packed schedule. Be prepared for that. That's just the way it is. It's to sort of test your limit, push your limit. Now, in full disclosure, Pre-Vimy didn't go well for me. I wasn't successful on my assessment for Pre-Vimy. And if this is the case for you, don't fret. Uh, it doesn't feel good, but this is the time to go to the drawing board and really pay attention to the things that you got wrong. I Your staff is going to give you feedback. They're going to let you know exactly where you misstepped, and it's your responsibility to take note of those things and make sure you work on it for the following week. If it's something you can work on over the weekend, do that. If you have to tweak your approach to a certain method so it's more efficient, etc. Make sure you're aware of that going into the next week. Again, this is the time to get things wrong, and when you get those things wrong, make sure you improve them for the following week. The weekend of week 10 felt very different from other weekends. The other weekends, you're just going into the next week and starting the next week with whatever is going to be happening. But the weekend of week 10, you're going into the next week, and it's going to be sort of your make or break week. So for me, this weekend, I got some rest. You always want to make sure over the weekends you recharge as much as possible. But I also was sort of working on preparation for the following week. So making templates. You're gonna learn all the tricks and tools that work for you while you're there. Because I think it's a bit personal to each person. There's some things that apply to the general, but it's a lot of sort of personal tips and tricks, things that make you as efficient as possible. So for me, I was making templates. I was packing up stuff for the following week. So yeah, you're gonna have your work cut out. That's just something to keep in mind. This weekend is not necessarily gonna be like the other weekends you experience, and that's fair. It's a time to lock in and make sure you ace whatever is coming at you the following week. And I think that brings us on to week 11. Week 11, this is the main event. This is Vimy. This is where your leadership assessment matters. This is also where your training from week 0 to this point culminates. It's basically the same shebang as the previous week. You go in on Tuesday morning, come back on Thursday evening, if I remember correctly. Yeah, you're going through missions in a similar manner, except this time you're being assessed, and it's make or break. You're either successful or not. But hopefully you've done all the prep in the previous week to bring you up to a point of some confidence in this week. When I was going through mine, I still wasn't 100% confident, but I knew where I flopped in the previous week. So I made sure to put some extra effort into making sure I didn't trip over the same mistakes, and I knew what I was doing going into this. So I think that helped me. I was successful this week, and that was a great relief. That was a great joy. Hopefully, when you get back on the Thursday, you know you've been successful, and you can go through the rest of your days in BMOQ with a little pep in your step. From that Friday, basically up until you graduate, all you're doing is admin. So you're winding down admin, or you're closing admin. You're returning your things to your kit to base supply. You're figuring out where you're getting posted next. This is when I found out I was getting posted to Halifax. For Navy folks, you start wearing your naval combats the following week, and this was an exciting period for me because it made me feel fulfilled. It made me feel like I had achieved something. It was sort of another little milestone. And yeah, it's just a good time all around, especially when everyone has been successful or most people have been successful. It's a really good feeling amongst everyone within the place. And this brings us to week 12, the graduation week. Week 12 is probably the best week you're gonna experience in Saint Jean. It feels like high school when you're done all your exams and you're just waiting for graduation. You've been in so much structure and so much under so much gruesome drilling, and week 12 just feels so weird because you can even feel the staff ease off you a bit because they're kind of rewarding you for the work you've put in up until this point. So yeah, it's a good time. You're gonna be graduating that Thursday, the Thursday of week 12. You would have returned your kit. We also had a commissioning ceremony. It's a really nice traditional ceremony, and yeah, you get to take the oath and yeah, do a lot of traditional military stuff. We also had the school commandant come talk to us about leadership. We asked him some really good questions, had some nice conversations. Um, that was enjoyable as well. Before D-Day, there's a lot of parade drill practice. So on graduation, there'll be a parade, and there's a lot of practice before that day because the staff wants you to look as sharp as possible. And you also want to feel proud on that day when you're marching, so you want to be as sharp as possible. And I think a lot of us put in our effort into practice and into looking sharp. And yeah, the staff lets you know if you're not putting in the effort. Yeah, you could be practicing for really long hours. Thankfully, it wasn't the case for us. We got to our group did really well in the practice. So yeah, it was we got a commendation, and we're just told, yeah, do the same thing on parade day, and it should be all good. On the D-Day, on parade day, yeah, it was nice. There was a bit of nervousness for me for marching and like wanting to look as sharp as possible. But the minute the drum went off or the command went off to march, yeah, it was go time. It felt like a game, and like you're playing the final game of the season, and you wanna you wanna win. You wanna take the trophy home. And my family came, my loved ones came, and it was a nice time. I really enjoyed it. The only sort of sour taste left in my mouth is you get to spend a lot of time with your family. You spend a few hours of the day with them after you're done parade, and then the next day you're going to your next posting. So Thursday I graduated. I spent, say, from 3 or 4, 1500 to 1600 to about 2100 with my family, and then the next day 0400 I was waking up to prepare to fly into Halifax. That was the kind of only sour taste of the day, but even at that it was still very positive. It was really nice sharing the moment with my family, sharing the moment with my platoon mates who we've been through these previous gruesome weeks together. And yeah, a feeling of huge satisfaction and fulfillment in the air. And then you go on to tackle the next steps of your military career, and really marks the end of BMOQ. Folks, that was the last entry in the BMOQ Week-by-Week Breakdown series. It's really been a pleasure doing all these videos. It's helped me sort of have a reflection through those times and kind of look at my experience in a bit of a different view. And for this particular video, looking at my journal was very nostalgic. Yeah, it was really nice to go through my journal and see some of the entries I made while I was experiencing the things I was experiencing during that time. So yeah, it's been a pleasure doing this video series. If you found it helpful, feel free to like, subscribe, comment. I'm always looking to hear what people think. So yeah, comment your thoughts, your ideas, opinions, whatever it is. Feel free to let me know. Remember to connect via either email or Instagram. Yeah, I'll leave it in the video description. I look forward to hearing from you all. If you're curious about what a grad parade looks like, it's going to be the next video, so feel free to go watch that next video. Until next time, I've been the Black Sailor. Peace.